Bulavinaka, welcome to another episode of Let Me Pod You with Andhy Blake. My name is obviously Andhy Blake, and on my show today, I'm very excited because I have the reigning fastest man in the South Pacific, in the entire Pacific, and the reigning fastest man in Fiji. He's very special because he comes from my province, the province of Tailevu, and from the chiefly island of Bau, Mr. Banuve Tabakaucoro. Tai, my fellow Tailevu, and I'm very excited to have you on the podcast. Let me pod you with Andhy Blake. Welcome.
Naka, thank you very much for having me.
We'll just go straight into it, Tai. So, I just want to for our viewers that are watching and they're getting to see you again after you've been missing from the spotlight for quite a bit, after you retired from athletics. How has life been since you officially retired from athletics and being the fastest man in the Pacific for 3 consecutive Pacific Games? Do you still wake up with that sprinter mindset?
Oh, yeah, I do. But I think I just found it a bit challenging, like waking up and not having a schedule.
Yeah.
And, not worrying about what I'm eating. And just, sometimes I still work out though. I still jump into the gym and be like, I need to lift this, and still writing things down in my diary and stuff.
Right.
When I know I really don't have to.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been doing it for over 15 years now, so it's become sort of a lifestyle.
Yeah.
And even when I had retired, I stopped training for I think close to 3-4 months. And I started, getting all these body aches and stuff. And I thought, oh man, I don't know, this might be a kickback or something. So I had a chat with my coach, Bolotofu, and Mr. Albert Miller. And he said, you've been in this lifestyle for so long.
Yes.
All of a sudden, you take your foot off the pedal and then you expect to still function the same. It doesn't happen like that.
Right.
And so I asked him, so what do I have to do? He said, you have to get right back into it. So, I jumped back into training, but everything's a bit more toned down now.
But it's not as
intense,
Because I remember, I'm not sure if you remember, one time I did an interview when I was on television. I interviewed you at the Rambuka gym.
Yes.
And you were jumping from the ground, and I think there were about how many
stacks of boxes.
Yes. And I was like, oh my gosh, how can a human jump that high?
Yeah.
Because I was just picturing myself doing that, and I was like, I would never reach.
Yeah. Even when I'm in the gym, I sort of go and stack those boxes up again. Said there's no way I was jumping this before.
Because I think you were preparing for the Pacific Games that time, or was it Olympics?
It was either the Pacific Games or it would have been one of the championships. Yeah. I think been to so many games. Even when I look up a couple of my videos, I didn't even know what I was training for.
Wow.
Then
Wow, but you've had such a successful career as a Fijian athlete, and you've traveled the world with what you've done.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Yeah. So I'm very blessed to be in this sport.
And to make it even more bittersweet is the fact that you come from the Golden Province, which is Tailevu. Me, I'm so passionate about Tailevu and anything to do with I'm always promoting. So, Banuve, let's take it back. When did you first realize you had a special gift for sprinting? Was there a moment in your childhood when you thought, this is it, I'm going to be fast?
Well, I initially discovered the talent when I was probably in class 2 or class 3. And, I really enjoyed being outside. But at the same time, too, I was a bit of a loner.
Right.
My sister was the one that used to run.
Oh,
so she was the one that initially got into the Suva team first for the Milo games, what it was called back then.
At the time.
So, we'd have dinners for her and stuff like that. But I didn't really know what it was for. And so by the time the games happened, my mom would say, hey, we need to get up early tomorrow morning. Your sister's running. I'd actually just stay home with my dad or with my granddad and just chill all day.
Wow.
So I didn't really realize until I, started playing with my friends in school, and I noticed that I was actually quick. And there was this particular day, my class 3 teacher, Mrs. Dere, we had our trial in school. And she said, everybody needs to go out and run. Because I was so shy, I didn't want to do it. I enjoyed playing with my friends when no one was looking.
Yeah.
So when I went out for the trial, I ran. obviously I won it.
Yeah.
And she said, okay, how about you try running with the 10-year-olds? So I ran with the 10-year-olds,
Wow.
took them out. Okay, run with the 11-year-olds, took them out. Ran with the 12-year-olds, and then I was like on pace with them. And then she said, this might be something for you. So, you might want to try.
What primary school was this?
I was in Stella Maris.
Stella
Stella
Maris.
Maris,
Yeah.
yes.
Wow.
So that's where it began. I found out later that my mom and dad were actually sprinters in school too.
Wow.
So my dad went to Marist and my mom was a big time sprinter back in the 80s for ACS.
Of course, and those are two schools that have
Exactly,
produced some of the top sprinters in the
And
country.
they didn't even tell me about it until I was like 11 or 12, and my grandmother, my mom's mom,
Yes.
pulled me aside. She said, "Oh, I need you to look at this this diary with all the pictures and everything."
Yeah.
And I opened it up, just articles of my mom running for ACS back in the 80s.
Wow. So I guess it's always been in
It's
the
been in
blood.
the gene, yeah. But she never told me.
Because your younger brother was also a
He was
sprinter
also a
during
sprinter,
his
yes,
time.
yes.
I remember watching him at the Coca-Cola games.
So I asked her, why didn't you tell me that you used to run back then? And then she told me, I needed you to find your own passion and not try and follow in the footsteps.
That sounds so amazing as a parent, like
Yeah.
not pushing you into
Exactly.
something
So
that
I actually found it on my own.
Right.
And then I found out later that both mom and dad used to run in school.
Wow,
And
so
dad
you-
was also a really good sprinter as well. Bronze medalist, I think, at the Cool Games in the
Yes.
100, and they also won the 4x1 as well.
This is amazing. This is a great story. Like, I guess this could be sort of like an exclusive. Have you shared this to anyone before?
Well, I think the guys in the 80s all know about this story.
Yeah.
So I think the younger generation.
Yeah, the younger generation, and for
don't
all
know.
our viewers
Yeah.
on the podcast, I love this. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's amazing information. So
Even to the point, my mom got into the national team for the Pacific Games. I think, yes, she did.
yeah.
She got into the Pacific Games team as well. She ran in the 4x1 and also the 4x4.
Was this around the time of sprinters like Banuve Tabakaucoro and Rosita
Before
Mani,
them.
Rachel Hunter?
Before.
Sorry, Rachel Rogers, Rachel Hunter.
Way before. So
Yeah.
it would have been, my mom would have, I think it was the Pacific Games in 83.
Oh, wow.
I believe, yeah. So she was actually in the same team as Albert Miller
Right,
Senior.
right. Albert Millicent, whose
Yeah.
son became a runner.
Yeah.
So it was always in the blood.
Yeah, it's in the gene.
It's in the
Yeah.
genes. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow, that's an interesting story. Your family needs to write a book about this.
Really?
But your dad started first, right? Before mom, or they both started out running at the same time?
They're both the same age. Yeah. So I think probably when they were on the track too, they were both eyeing each other.
Eyeing
as
each
well.
other. Coca-Cola games. Yeah, true. So your nickname on the track was the Bau Bullet. Now, for anyone that's watching that's outside of Fiji that doesn't know Bau is the chiefly island in the province where me and Banuve comes from, in the Tailevu. It's where one of our chiefly, the titles, the Vunivalu, is held. If we go back in history, Bau played a significant role in ceding Fiji to Great Britain. A lot of people now think that Levuka, when they look back in history, they always mention that Levuka was Fiji's first capital. But in reality, it was Bau because it was the most powerful island at the time, back before Europeans settled in Fiji, and we had the Vunivalu, Ratu Seru Dakumbau.
Yeah.
So Banuve comes from the chiefly island. He has some chiefly lineage, which I won't ask you because there's a big story behind that, and hence your name, Bau Bullet, which means fast, powerful, and uncatchable, which you were on the tracks at the time, during the peak of your career. How did you feel about that name? Like, did it ever add pressure to perform?
It definitely did. This is a name that I didn't actually come up with this name. It was actually Satish Narayan.
Yes.
So yeah,
the voice
shout out
of
to Satish
commentary.
He usually comes up with a lot of good names. So he was the one that came up with the name Bau Bullet.
Wow.
And
That is such a fitting name. Like, it's unique. It's who you are. It identifies you.
Yeah.
And it's almost like your brand.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So initially, when he started calling me that, a lot of it really caught on. There was a time, I think, I don't know if that van is still running around Nosori right now. There's a van in Nosori that's got Bau Bullet printed on the front of his.
You're just giving me ideas to maybe change my number plate for my car.
Yeah. So yeah, it's probably not a good idea to be driving around quickly right now.
Yeah. True.
So yeah, it came with its challenges, its
Yeah.
expectations.
Yeah.
But initially when I got into this sport, all I wanted to do was just have fun and just run. Little did I know that I was gonna be carrying all this baggage as well.
Yeah.
And just a lot of expectations.
Yeah, and not just from like the Vanua or the country.
Yeah, and just knowing
It
that
was
I'm
just-
using the name Bau as well.
Right, right.
But yeah, everybody was very, very proud of that. Even the current Unifol Ratapinisa.
Yes.
Is always following
Yes.
what I'm doing, always asking Dad what I'm doing.
Yes.
And I really appreciated that.
Yeah.
So all my work never went unnoticed.
Of course. And one thing I've noticed, like for our province, like whenever one of our sons or daughters in our province excel in whatever field that they're in, we always celebrate them.
Yeah,
And I guess it's the same for all other provinces. But
Yeah.
I noticed, like with Tailevu, we that's why there's always that saying, push Tailevu. Like we always prefer to be the number one province in the country.
Trying to. Yeah. So yeah, and knowing that the Fiji public too is very very demanding. You could
Absolutely.
you could be the darling of the sport on a second, and then after that, they'll bury you.
Yes.
As chance they get.
Yes.
So it gets pretty tough. So
Yeah.
my message to the kids, like, once you're getting to the sport, any sport, get into it for the right reasons. Your heart needs to be in the right place.
Yeah.
Don't go chasing that fame.
Correct.
'Cause
That's great
everything
advice.
Everything will just go down the drain from there.
That
but
is
you have
great
to be
advice.
passionate about what you do,
Oh my
especially in
gosh.
a sport for
Yeah.
like athletics.
Yeah, that is great advice,
Yeah.
Tai. Thank you for sharing that. And also, I guess, like for you, like with added pressure was the school that you also represented, Marist Brothers, because they've dominated the Coca-Cola Games. Before the Coca-Cola Games, it was known as the Fiji Finals, and Marist has always won.
Yeah.
And then they always had sprinters
Yeah.
that came out of that school. Like I remember during my time, we had this one sprinter from Marist Brothers. His name was Sionefa.
Sionifa.
And he used to dominate the tracks. And then after he died down, then you sort of like surfaced and then just took over. We did, however, I must add that when I went to grammar, I went to Silver Grammar, which is the rival school to Marist. We did at one time rule the tracks with our sprinter
Yes.
Brett Williams.
Yes. Oh yeah. Brett went to Stella Maris as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
He started in Stella Maris and he came to grammar and then he just dominated the sub-junior and junior grade at the time, the 100 meters. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, just adding to that, even when I came into Marist from Stella Maris, coming from a co-ed school and then coming into a school where it's all boys, it was a bit of a shock for me because knowing that we had always competed with the girls in everything, whether it was schoolwork, whether it was sports outside. Even when we were playing Dubi down in Stella Maris, we were playing against the girls too, and we wouldn't go easy on them.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden coming to Marist where things were a lot tougher now that you're up against boys. And but see, the funny thing is that when we were in the classroom, when the teacher is like telling you off, usually in a co-ed school you'd feel a bit ashamed because the girls are looking at you as well. And you're trying to hide your face and everything. And when I got into Marist, and when the teachers were telling off one boy, everyone would be laughing. So I kind of found that a bit exciting too. It was a bit off as well, but the boys would always look at me and remind me, said, "We're not laughing at you, we're laughing with you. Just smile and laugh.
Yes.
Just take it all in."
It's funny that you said that because I'm surrounded by a lot of Marist all boys, mobs as we like to call them, and that's the phrase that they use. We're not laughing at you, we're laughing with you. It's a Marist thing.
Yeah, it's a Marist thing. So like even coming to Marist, I thought I knew athletics until I came into Marist when I actually found out it's really big time here.
Yeah.
And that's where my love grew even more for
I think it's the only school as well in the country that has its own sprint tracks.
It has its own track right now.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we should have a lot more sprinters coming out of there too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So
Very,
even
very
knowing
exciting.
that Marist had a lot of good athletes that came out of there, I knew a lot of good sprinters came out of there as well. So initially when I went in, my mindset was, okay, how am I going to set myself aside from all these other sprinters that came through? What am I going to do that's going to be different? And so the only answer that I could find there was, I need to walk out here with some records.
Yeah.
And that's initially where I started taking out records at the Coke Games.
Wow.
I was still in school when I took out the Pacific Games as well. So,
Wow.
I needed to set a high standard for myself.
Yes.
At least, So,
And you did. You
Yeah.
set the bar very high.
even coming in, because my dad was head boy in Marist back in '86.
Right.
And just knowing that he was a leader there too, I wanted a piece of that cake too.
Right. So he was sort of like a good role model for
exactly,
you, right?
Yeah. So so I came in and said, everybody will be talking about my dad. Even the old boys when they have their meetings, that your dad was head boy here. I said, okay, so what am I gonna do that's gonna be different? I want to be set apart from that.
Yeah.
I need to write my own story.
Yeah.
So things happened the way it did, and I have no regrets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing, Tai. I just want to go into your career highs and lows now. So you're a national record holder, a Pacific Games legend. One of the best sprinters in the entire region of the Pacific, and the only man to clean sweep the 100 meters for 3 consecutive Pacific Games. When you look at your trophy cabinet, like what's the medal or record that means the most to you?
Okay, so I'll start with the most memorable medal.
Yes.
So it would be the first one I ever won when I was under 10.
Okay.
My first individual medal, which was in the 50 meters.
Okay.
And it wasn't even a gold, it was a silver.
Wow.
Yeah. So that one there sits right in the middle of...
you still have that medal
I still have
today?
it.
Wow.
And it wasn't so much that, that it was a silver medal. I wasn't disappointed, but just knowing that, I could have done a bit better than that. And just celebrating that, this is the beginning of many things to come. And so you'd have that medal in the middle and all the other big ones around it.
So that was the beginning of what led to all the bigger medals.
I still remember it like it was yesterday, even standing there and then, receiving the medal and my family members all standing in the grandstand on yelling.
Wow.
And I think it was the kid from Lautoka who had won the gold.
Right.
That was standing beside me.
Right.
And I know I just stood there. I was like, okay, next time I stand here, I want to be standing in the middle. I don't want to be standing on the side anymore.
Of course.
And so I walked off with my medal. I was a bit disappointed, but knowing as well, I need to work a bit harder to actually stand in the middle from now on. And so I think that would be my most memorable one. Wow. And I think in terms of records, I think the Interboys, when we were at the Suvo Zone 2 meet, breaking Sionefa's record.
Right.
Yeah. In the 100. That was my first one.
Wow.
Yeah. On the track.
On the
track. My first record I ever broke was when I was under 12. In the long jump. I was actually a jumper before I transitioned into the 200 meters.
I never knew that about you. Yeah.
So initially when I started off, I was doing the 100 and the long jump.
Like most sprinters do, eh?
Yeah, like most sprinters. And you just do anything,
Yeah.
And even at the Maristinta house, you have to run all the events. So starting from the 100 all the way up to the 1.5 if you want to get points for your house.
Okay.
So, you try and win as many events as you can.
Right.
So,
no wonder the Maris boys are so competitive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and as soon as you start from Form 3, when you get to the senior grade, it gets a lot more competitive. And you see all these big guys, massive guys running the long distance events.
Right.
And they're actually like really trying to win the event. So, that's something that I found really exciting as well.
Yeah.
So I transitioned into the 200 when I was in Form 5. That happened by accident as well. So when I was running all the events, trying to gather all these points, I ended up running the 200. I won it during the inter-house. And I see my coach running down from the grandstand. I said, okay, something's wrong.
Right.
So I run to the back and then he holds the stopwatch up to my face. It's like, I said, look at the time. I was looking at it. It was like a 22 something, 22 flat or something. I was looking at it. I said, what's wrong with it? Because I don't know what what's a fast time or
like
what's a slow time.
Best and all that stuff.
I said, this is 22 seconds. Do you know how fast this is? I said, no. So he runs inside the call room, grabs out the Coke Games record book and said, as of right now, you've broken the Interboys record. I said, no, but I was just having fun. I said, this is what's happening right now.
I got goosebumps when you're just telling that story.
So he said, okay, so what you want to do now? I said, I don't know, you're the coach. You make that call. He walks over to my long jump coach. He said, he's not jumping anymore. Because initially I started with my coach, Bau Bullet first, before he introduced me to my long jump coach.
Right.
So he walks over to my long jump coach, tells him, he's not jumping anymore. And the coach is like, why? He's a really good jumper. Like he'll win the jumps again this year. So shows him the time. Okay.
Game over.
Yeah.
No more discussion with long jump.
So it worked out really well. So and from then on, I started running the 1 and 2 from then on.
Wow, amazing. I've always had this interesting question, like whenever I used to watch like athletics on television, and when the sprinters go into they line, or they're in the holding room, and then they go in their lineup. Like for you, like when you are in that holding zone, and then you go out onto the tracks, and you know that the other athletes are. Now, can you feel their nerves because they know that you're standing in the lane next to them?
Your anxiety levels will be through the roof.
How do you like? What do you
It's not so
think
much the running part.
Yeah.
Like all sprinters will tell you this. Even the sprinters from the old Fiji sprints, they'll tell you all about this. The running part is easy. It's just the waiting.
Oh man.
When you're waiting to get called out into warm up.
Yeah.
And then from warm up into the call room. From the call room onto the track. When you're on the track and you're standing there, that's the worst. Your anxiety levels is just like at an all-time high. You hear everything.
So how do you?
And then all of a
do you
sudden,
have like a mantra or something? Like what do you do to keep calm? How do you control that?
I try and smile as much as I can.
Yeah, and
So
just try and block everything out.
You try and block everything out, but then again, people are swearing at you left, right, and center, especially for the Coca-Cola games. So I feel like the Coca-Cola games is what really built me and carried me throughout my international and like regional career. You'd walk from the call room. Before, the call room was at the tape end, and you had to walk right in front of the stadium, in front of everybody.
I remember that.
That's for the 100 meters.
It was the display.
If you're going for the 200 meters, you have to walk
right
from
around
the 400
on the other
meter
side.
all the other end. So while you're walking there, and we're from Mariste.
Yeah.
So you're getting thrown at, you're getting sworn at.
Yeah.
All the swears you can hear. You think about it. I've heard
from the rival schools.
Exactly. I've heard all the swears in the world. So you have to be prepared mentally, not just on the day. You need to be preparing like weeks or months out there. So that's initially how I used to prepare. Every time I got into the track, it was competition day. Everything had to be serious. There had to be a certain way I tie my shoe. It had to start on the left, then right. If I start from the right and left, then it'll feel off.
Oh my gosh. And then
it's all the little
sleeping,
things.
Like do you sleep well before your competition?
The day before is the hardest one. So you need to, I think 3-4 days out, you need to be sleeping on time.
Oh man.
But there were times where I used to go to sleep at like 6 in the morning. And I know I have to warm up at like 9 o'clock for the first event. And it carried on right into my international career as well. And I knew it wasn't good, but it was just all those jitters running right now. So the running part is actually pretty easy.
It's just the getting
you just need to get out of the block, and especially when you're on the block and then somebody false starts. And your anxiety levels it's already on an all-time high. Now it's just gonna hit the high heavens.
Right. Wow. And then the crowd and
So I think the scariest thing is when you're standing behind the block, everybody's cheering loud. You can hear everything. And all of a sudden, when the starter calls on your mark, it's just pin drop silence. You can't hear anything. And all you can hear is just, you know how they have those speakers behind the block? How it makes that buzzing sound? You can actually hear it. When you're down on the block, you can hear that buzzing sound. If I'm in lane 4, I can hear the guy breathing in lane 1.
No way. That's amazing.
And we have this starting technique where when you go on your set position, everybody takes in a breath of air to hold. It's like and you like to tense up before you take off. And as soon as you get on the block, when you go in your set position, you can hear lane 1 all the way to lane 8 take in that breath, and everybody's just ready. And it's a pretty scary feeling to be there. Because know, just that one false move, you are done.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So,
I could never be a sprinter. So, Tai, the Pacific Games, have been a defining stage for you. What was your most unforgettable moment, whether it was a win, a challenge, or even a personal revelation?
I think the win.
Yeah.
The win would have been the 100-meter final.
Right.
I remember after I'd won, coming into the games.
This was in Samoa?
2011. So I was 18 years old back then. I know coming into that final, there were like 3 or 4 guys in that final that I had watched in Suva back in 2003.
Right.
In that final.
Right.
I forgot the name of this guy. He was from the Solomon Islands or from Vanuatu.
Right.
I walked up to him in the what do you call this, in the marshalling area.
Yeah.
This is for the finals.
Yeah.
Well, I looked at him and I was like starstruck. Hey, these are the same guy I was watching back into that.
Yeah.
Mind you, 2003, I was only in class 5.
What?
And my teacher, Master Ysefola, he did the decathlon. He won silver that year.
Right.
And Joe Roden Jr. won gold. So
Right.
Fiji won gold and silver that year. And he was actually my teacher that year.
Yeah.
So he was telling us about the Pacific Games and all of that. And that was my first introduction. And just having him as a teacher as well, like I was pretty honored as well. And
Yeah.
said, oh, Master Yosef was
Yeah.
an athlete. And he was pretty built too. He looked like
Yeah.
a superhero right out of a comic book. And so I remember when I walked into that cold room, I saw that sprinter that was sitting there. I walked up to him, said, oh, excuse me, sir. You ran for Vanuatu back in 2003.
Yeah.
He looked at me and said, yes. I said, yeah, I was only in like grade 5 back then. I said, oh, okay. He said,
Yeah.
oh, my teacher was Master Ysefola. Oh, the decathlete. He said, yeah. I said, where is he now? I said, oh, he's a teacher back in Fiji right now. So I said, oh, okay. Oh, well, good luck in the final, boy.
And
So
he was
then-
your competitor?
He was actually my competitor.
Right.
So it gets pretty scary. Someone that you're watching, all of a sudden you're up there
running
and you
with
have to
them.
compete against him.
Yeah.
And this was a teenager competing against men.
They were more experienced.
More
eh?
experience.
Yeah.
Some of these guys were competing in France. Some of them were competing in Australia. Some of them were competing in the US.
Yeah.
And here I am coming from the core games,
Straight
selected
into
into Team
Pacific
Fiji,
Games, yeah.
and then thrown right into the lines then with all these men.
Wow.
Yeah. So it gets pretty scary. And I'm standing there like small scrawny boy against all these big
Yeah.
tough looking guys. They're all
Yeah.
ripped shoulders and everything.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna get out of this block and just gun it just like I always do.
Did the Bau Bullet?
Yeah, so coach was there. You need to do this in the first 30. After that, from the 30 to like the 50 meter, you need to do this. I said, oh, you know what? I got on the track. I just stood there. When this gun goes, I'm just gonna gun it. Everything just went
Sprint
out the
for your
window.
life.
Yeah. And then, you know, it was almost like a dream. Even the night before, I was thinking, said, okay, what if we win tomorrow? Knowing very well I was going in as the favorite. But still, at times, you know, I'd say I was in denial as well. I said,
Yeah.
no, you can't win.
Yeah.
And it's that voice that you really need to get rid of.
Yeah.
That's one voice a lot of athletes battle throughout the years. That inner voice saying that you can't when you know you actually can.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So when I actually crossed the line, it didn't hit me until I walked into the tunnel, and then people were tapping me on my back and said, hey, congratulations.
It didn't occur to you that
No.
you had won the race when you crossed that finish line?
I crossed the line, walked off, and I saw the whole of Team Fiji up. But then I was still in denial as well.
Right.
Okay.
You just never expected it.
I did expect
Yeah.
it, but at the same time too, I was like, okay, no, somebody might have pipped me from like
Right,
lane 8
right.
because I was in the middle.
Right.
So somebody might have gotten me from the inside lane. And I was just waiting. And then when my name appeared there, first place, Fiji.
Wow.
Okay, so I walked in. We had our what do you call this drug testing.
Yeah.
You get drug tested on the spot.
What's the drug test? Like, is it injections
So
or
no.
urine?
So now it's a
Urine.
urine testing. So
Yeah.
as soon as you finish the race, the attaché will come in from WADA,
Yeah.
and then they'll make you sign a booklet, and
Yeah.
you have an attaché that will follow you everywhere, and you can't leave his side.
Interesting.
So until you have to go to the bathroom, and
Right.
he actually has to witness you passing urine.
Right. So no privacy.
No, you have to go to a bathroom.
Right.
So a male will be assigned to a male,
Right.
female to female.
Right,
So
right.
you guys will go into.
And this is
private
only
store.
for the gold, silver, bronze, or
No, just for
all?
the gold medalists.
Just for gold
Just for
medalists.
gold medalists. So I was there for like an hour. So we did the drug testing. They'll take your sample, and then after that, I headed off to dinner. Got back into the games village. Walked into the room, and in our room we had 4 people. So I was bunking with Ysefola.
Yes, long distance sprinter. Also from Tailevu.
Yes. And he was actually my bunkmate.
Right.
So he congratulated me, welcomed me to the arena.
Yeah.
You know, for somebody like him that was already well established.
Yeah.
That was pretty awesome. Eh? And I knew I went to bed that night, woke up the next morning, and then he climbs down his bed and he said, "Hey, fastest man in the Pacific, congratulations." He was the first person to call me that.
Wow.
Fastest man in the Pacific, congratulations. I shook his hand, and then I sat up on the bed. I was like, oh shit, we actually did it. And then everything started hitting me.
Yeah.
Because that whole night, as soon as I got back to the room, I didn't answer my phone. I didn't.
You were just
Yeah.
waiting for the
For
results
everything,
to
for everything to die down. Eh? And everything had happened within 12 hours. So I was up again the next morning. As soon as I took out my phone, there was like almost 1 billion messages.
Wow.
Thousands of missed
Wow.
calls. I was looking at it. Oh man.
Just blew up. Everything
yeah.
just blew up.
Everything is hitting right now. Eh? So the first person I called was my dad.
Yeah.
I said, "Hey boy, good morning." I said, "How you feeling? Congratulations." So I said, "Everything's all good." And he started telling me the story about what happened the night before at when they were watching at home. Eh?
Yeah.
A couple of the family members couldn't bring themselves to the screen to watch. Yeah.
Because of all the nerves.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it was pretty emotional.
Yeah.
I spoke to my mom after that, and I told her, I can't talk for long. I have to go again for
Yeah.
warm-ups for the 200.
Yeah.
So I had to get dressed again. So everything was just pretty much short-lived on that moment.
Yeah.
Up until the games had actually finished altogether. And when I got back to Fiji, and I was like, okay, everything's gonna start now.
Wow.
And that's when Satish came in, Digicel came in with their sponsorship.
Yeah.
Well, Digicel actually came in on board way before that. Eh?
Right.
So I actually found out that, we had done something pretty big. Eh? And then I went on to find out later that I was the youngest winner.
That's exciting, and congratulations for that. I think you
thank you.
paved the way. You paved the
4
way
years
for,
later.
you paved the way for some of the athletes that are coming up now, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, so big congratulations for that. I guess like you were born with that special gift and you just mastered it really well and
Yeah.
dominated the Pacific Games.
Yeah.
I mean 3 Pacific Games and being gold medalists in the
Good
same
stuff, yeah.
event.
First one was easy. Just staying there is the problem. Eh?
Yeah. I remember watching you on I think it was the 3rd one when it was hosted, I believe, was it in Samoa? And you had to run up against one of the Samoan sprinters.
Oh, Jeremy Dodson.
Yeah, that was a really good race.
Yeah.
I was actually really nervous
yeah.
just watching, and I was like, man, like cheering for you, obviously.
I'd been racing Dodson for close to 3-4 years. No, sorry, 2 years prior to that. I'd been racing him, but I'd never beaten him in 200.
Wow.
So I'd always take out the 100. And when we were competing in Australia, in this little track classics, I'd always take out the 100 and he'd take out the 200.
Right.
We were always racing against each other.
Right.
But I had never beaten him in the 200 until that day.
Yeah. Wow, amazing. So sprinting is often seen as an individual sport, but behind every great sprinter is a strong support system. Who were the key people in your journey that shaped the athlete that you became?
Definitely mom and dad. My brother and my sister.
Yeah.
And most importantly, the friends that I chose.
Right.
Yeah. They were the ones that kept me grounded.
Yeah.
They were the ones that always were listening on interviews. Saying, hey, you should have said this, you shouldn't have said this.
Yeah.
They were always putting me in place, especially my English teachers.
Yeah.
They said, oh, what you said there wasn't good, you should have said it this way.
Right.
So it's a puzzle. It's a connection of so many things that will make one person very successful. Eh? You can't do it all on your own. And getting all that media training from Satish Narayan as well. And also Felix Chaudhry.
Yes.
Yeah, so these were the kind of people I was surrounded with
That's
my
great.
entire life. Yeah.
And good mentors because they're so experienced in their fields, in journalism.
Yeah, and also my coaches, Bola Tofo, Coach Albert Miller.
Yes.
Coach Mbola is more like a mentor, a father figure to me as well. So I'd call him as like my second dad.
Yeah.
He's been with me throughout my highs and lows. He's been right there.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that God brought these people into my life.
Yeah.
And without them, none of this would have happened.
Right.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And one thing I've always admired about you, like despite the fame that you had and have till today, like everyone knows who you are. You are so humble, because I always observe you at the Coca-Cola games when I'm doing the coverage, or when I used to do the color pieces at the time, and I used to observe you, and just so humble, because you'll always make time to talk to your younger fans, the younger generation. I mean, always make time.
I remember this one time when I was in school. I won't say which rugby player it was.
Yeah,
it was somebody that I really idolized when I was little. And you know how these big teams come and they come for like school visits?
Yes.
Yeah. So I came, I spoke to him, and he didn't even look me in the eye.
Yeah.
Or, like I was just somebody else.
Right.
When he signed my book, he didn't even look at me. He just signed it and just brushed it off. And then that's when I started to lose interest.
Yeah.
And then from then on, I started to think about, if I ever become a big-time athlete, this is something that I need to really tighten up on, to engage with your fans, especially the younger ones. Anything you say or do will affect how they see you for their entire lives.
Yeah.
So you need to be very careful with what you say and what you do around them. So, that was a huge lesson for me. But at the same time, too, I needed to understand that he was pretty busy, and then he was there for a job as well.
Right.
Yeah. But at times I felt like he could have engaged a lot
absolutely.
more.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I agree with you.
But but this lifestyle too teaches you a lot to be patient. I need to leave home every day with the best version of myself.
Yeah.
One person might be having a bad day, but this person might see you from across the road. It might be his day looking at you.
Yeah.
Just coming, they'd make an effort to cross the road to come and say hello to you. And just that small engagement for like a minute or so.
Yeah.
He's gonna go home, tell his family about it, tell his kids about it. It'll change his day.
Absolutely.
So a minute might be not much to people, but for someone like that, they'll remember it for a lifetime. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's good advice, and I'm so proud of you. And continue to be who you are, humble, and long live the Bau Bullet. So after that words of wisdom and advice, we'll take a short commercial break. We'll allow you to top up your cups of teas. If you're drinking Warusi from the Noise Story Market, you can go and top up your Warusi, or go to the bathroom, or do whatever you need to do. Get a snack, and we'll see you right after this break. So, Banuve, being an elite athlete comes with its fair share of pressure, performance anxiety, which we spoke about earlier, expectations, injuries. Were there moments where the weight of it all became too much? And if there was, how did you cope?
Oh yeah, definitely. I'd wake up on days and just be like, I really don't need to do this anymore. Waking up with muscle aches, waking up a day knowing that I'd injured myself the day before, and be like, I've done all this work. I've put too much effort in, and just to lose it within that one session, I don't think it's worth it anymore. The risk to reward ratio is way too much. And at times I'd be like, I don't want to do this. And I decide right there and then, while I'm lying in bed, that I'm not going to do this anymore.
Right.
Then I get up, have a shower, have breakfast, do whatever. And then I just forget about it. And then I find myself walking to the physio room, doing my exercises, doing the rehab. And then it just blows over my head. And the next day I wake up again with that same challenge again. But I think for me it was just about getting out of bed and just dealing with the issue.
Right.
I was always someone that always dealt with issues head on.
Yeah.
And I was never shy of those kind of things.
Yeah.
I used to find it difficult when people make little issues big. They blow it out of proportion.
Yeah.
And I know they could have just dealt with it from A to B.
I understand what you're saying.
And it took me a while to figure out that not everybody thinks the same.
Yeah.
Not everybody approaches their problems the same way. And, I've always dealt with it that way. And initially when I was back in school, even throughout my career, it was all that saying just kept coming to mind, just man up and do it. So I kept it simple.
Yeah.
And that's usually how I approach everything right now.
That's the best way because just being simple and content just helps you with your
especially being content. Journey. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
And just not trying to complicate things when it's right there. Just do A, B, C, D. That's it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people say, but this is gonna happen. This is gonna happen. Deal with it.
Yeah.
Just the other day, I was having a chat with my friend Eugene Volmer.
Yeah, another famous Fijian athlete.
Yeah. So he said one of his athletes said something about if you're in Texas, and Texas is.
I'm about to go there actually in 2 weeks' time from when we're recording this episode.
So he told me you can't pray for rain. You pray for rain, but you have to deal with the mud as well. So that applies to our life a lot. Even now that I'm retired, I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do. Like I know I'm coaching right now, but there's so many things to do right now.
Yeah, you are a very recognized and trustworthy brand in Fiji and the Pacific. So whatever you set your heart and mind to, it'll just prosper.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. When you are in your peak of being the fastest man in the Pacific, the pressure of food, because a Pacific Islanders, we like our food, were there times where you felt pressure to control, indulge, to eat processed foods or food that you were not supposed to eat?
I'd constantly be reminded by my coach every time I finish a really good session and I've done really well, all the times are lining up. He'll constantly remind me, boy, watch your chow, watch the food that you're eating. And I'll be like, oh, why is he telling me this? I'm running at almost 100 miles an hour. I know I'm burning all of this. But then later on in my career, when I got older, I started to find out that I put on weight a lot more easily than I used to before. I couldn't burn all that food as fast as I used to.
Yeah.
And that's when, I started to really be careful of what I ate as well.
Yeah.
Even now that I'm retired, I still watch what I try and or watch what I eat.
Yeah.
And, all of those things factor in to how fast you're going to run during your competitions. And all of these things build up as well. So you need to be really strict about that as well.
Interesting.
And
and portions and all that stuff.
Even knowing that building into the weekend, we're gonna have a big Sunday lunch.
Yes, in our culture in Fiji or the Pacific.
And knowing very well, having Sunday lunch, knowing the very next day I'm gonna get hammered during training. So I'd be sitting there. I said, okay, I'll have to put that piece of chicken back.
Or the roast pork, the palusami,
all of that stuff. Because as soon as I start running the next day, the coach will be able to tell, so you had a big meal yesterday. I said, okay, we'll see what you can do today.
Right.
Yeah. Just a few 30 minutes later, I'm just lying on the ground looking up at the sky. It's like, why the hell am I playing this sport?
Yeah.
Should have played golf or something else.
Yeah. Interesting.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So mental health in sports is becoming a more open conversation. And just before I go into the part of the next part of the question, there was a very well-known documentary. If you're familiar with the sport of gymnastics, Simone Biles.
Simone Biles, yeah.
And she came out and talked about her mental health struggles. So she kind of like opened the conversation, because before her, unless you can correct me, I didn't know any famous athletes that would come out publicly and talk about their mental health struggles, because that's the reason why she kind of pulled out of the Tokyo Olympics, because she was battling mental health issues. Yeah. So in your career, did you ever struggle with self-doubt or burnout, and how did you push through those tough days?
Self-doubt a lot. I mean, I even mentioned it earlier on, that you really need to deal with that inner voice telling you that you can't do things.
Right.
That can be the difference between victory and your downfall as well. And once you start feeding into that, listening to that voice, becomes louder and louder and louder every day that you walk onto the track, or even whatever sport that you do. You need to take control of him and put him in a cage, or just shut him out completely. And having that man up mentality, I was able to do that as well. And also having people to talk to as well. I have a few very close friends that I offload all my issues,
which
also,
is important.
You need to talk about these kind of things. You can't keep bottling up all these things and expect to compete at that high level at the same time, because it takes its toll on you. And eventually one day you're gonna break. And I used to see people walking around town who were brilliant in school, just handling all that pressure from home, and then all of a sudden seeing them walking around town, just completely out of their minds. It's pretty sad to see those kind of things. And I think that if you have this support system built around you, where you're very open to speak on these issues, that'll help a lot. And just be open and comfortable to share all these things as well.
I think it's interesting that you mentioned that as well, and just observing your career from when you first started to where you're at now. I don't recall any negative press about you in your entire career. You've always been this positive, influential figure in athletics, in not just Fiji, in the Pacific. Because I've seen some athletes, when I say athletes, sportsmen, sportswomen, that reach sort of their peak, and then when they're doing so well, and then there's always bad negative publicity in the press. I guess it's probably what you said, they can't, they don't have an outlet for them to talk to someone that they trust.
It could have been.
But
I think at the same time too, I was always nice to the press as well. I was always open for interviews. Even when I lost races, I was always willing to speak to them as well. So and a lot of the media back then were pretty young as well. So we built up that relationship, and I was always comfortable talking to them. Even when they put out the article, everything I had mentioned in my interview was printed in the article. So I was more open to speak to them. And I know, I'm very honest, and I just put everything up front. And how people receive it, that's on them. I can control the way you view me.
Absolutely.
And now that we're in this social media era,
oh my gosh,
everybody's just open to their opinions. And
everyone has an opinion, and everyone is an expert and an analysis on everything in the world.
Exactly. So I used to think back then, we were so lucky growing up back then, because social media wasn't really a big. It was growing, but not as big as it was now. I'd like thing I'd like to say is that this kind of the way we speak on social media, especially as Fijians, we were speaking like this long ago. Now that we've been given this platform, people are just airing out all their all these things that they had built up over the years. And this platform just given us a way to speak and just be more open about things. So this is not a new thing for us.
Right.
This is how we felt all along.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's interesting that you brought that up because sometimes I consider, my name is Andy Blake, but like I'm written into the Volnikaumbula under my Matangali in Tailevu because I'm from Tailevu.
Yeah.
And then I consider myself Kailoma, but at the same time I'm Itauke because I have ownership to land. And when I see like our people, as in Itauke, like sometimes when they're vocal on social media, like it disappoints me as well because like sometimes I guess it's just social media etiquette, like like there's certain ways that you can
speak without
and mentions like I guess it's just how you put out your message, and like with and I've always said this, and I hope I'm not going to offend any of our Itakes because I'm just stating the obvious. Like when you see like issues or anything that with us in terms of like debate or dramas on current the social media platforms here in Fiji, it's always the Itokes.
Yeah.
And it's never any other race that I always see.
It's always us
It's
against
always
us.
us against us.
Yeah.
Like we never tend to like build each other up. We're always at each other. And I think that's probably something that, we should start advocating on, I guess.
Yeah. But I think the positive thing out of all of this is that we're actually speaking about it. Yeah, people actually talking about all these issues.
Yeah.
It becomes a problem when everybody is quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've always told like a lot of like teams that we get into it.
Yeah.
If we are gonna fight, we fight in this team.
Yeah.
Right. We talk. We keep talking.
Right.
Just keep communication open all the time.
Right.
Because the moment we all get quiet, things are just gonna go down the drain from here.
Yeah.
So we're still learning as a race. Still learning as a race.
Still learning. They are still learning. Yeah, that is so true.
But I think that social media etiquette, like you had mentioned, is something we should really
need
polish
to
up
start
on.
polishing up on. Correct. Yeah.
There's just things that should be said, and then
things that should be like left.
Need to be quiet.
Absolutely. Sometimes people share too much.
Yeah.
So retirement is a huge transition for any athlete. What has been the most challenging part of stepping away from competition, and how are you navigating life after sprinting?
At the moment, I'm really enjoying my, getting up when I want to. Before there was always a set schedule.
Right.
I enjoy being around my two boys a lot, so getting them ready for school.
How old are they now? Because I think the last time I met them, they were still toddlers.
Yes. So one, they're turning 8, and one is turning 9 this year.
Any hint of athletics interest in either one of them?
They're both pretty athletic, but I'm just like what my mom did with me. I'm gonna do with them as well. They just need to find their way.
Right.
At times they come home and say, "Oh, Dad, they ask if you could come to school to come and run a clinic and this and that." Oh, I like the fact that when they look at me, I'm just dead.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I really enjoy that.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
And,
so I think one of the challenges now is, I think, not having to look forward to competitions that I need to prep for. For most of my life, I've always there's always a set target. There's always a competition that I'm building up towards it, and I have to deal with not having anxiety now. Because before I was always worrying. Even when I know like the session today is going to be pretty easy, I'm still worrying about it. And dealing with this new lifestyle now where I can just get up at any time.
Yeah. And eat
whatever
you want.
Eat whatever I want, and not be held accountable.
Right.
So I think for me the struggle is enjoying now. But
you still look trim and fit.
Yeah. So I think I wanted to keep the body though. To keep the body and listening to a lot of the old Vangase gang.
Yes.
All my ratus, all my uncles. They're in that age now where the knees are starting to give now, a little creak here and there.
Yeah.
So them letting me know, boy, you need to carry on with your training. You're going to thank yourself later for this.
That's wise advice.
Yeah. So, I'm taking that advice from them, especially from my granddad as well.
Yeah.
said, stay in the lifestyle now. Don't come out of it.
Right.
You can enjoy as much as you want, but stay in this lifestyle. You're gonna thank yourself later. So, they gave me good advice back then. Worked out really well. So they still giving me advice now. I'm still
and it's
gonna
amazing
go with it.
that you're listening to your generation and taking their wise advice and applying that to you, because I'm sure you're gonna pass that down to your two sons.
Oh yeah, definitely. But they're just pretty much eating whatever they want. So I'm just letting them be kids right now.
Yeah, let them be kids. Yeah. So. It's funny when you were talking, when you were just responding to this question. Do you remember doing the calendar shoot? I think this was in 2013.
Oh, the Gods of Sport.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
We had a lot of flack with that too.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I got a lot of flack from that too.
But I think, like, from a creative point of view, it was a really good something new for Fiji. And I think as a country, we kind of like tend to react when there is something new and we that's not comfortable, that they feel is not part of our culture, and they tend to react differently.
I think what we were raising money for.
Yeah, you were raising money for our charity.
For charity, but it was going to the homes for kids.
Right.
Yeah, the Homes of Hope, is it?
I think Homes of Hope. Yes.
So a bunch of shitless men with and then giving money to them. They didn't really.
No, but then it happens abroad.
Yeah, I know it does.
So it happens abroad.
But
At the end of the day, it was, you are all successful sportsmen in your individual, sports. Yeah. So you were doing something creative.
Yeah. I think just the mindset
it's just
still
the mindset.
Pretty much closed.
It's just the mindset. Yeah. So you've represented Fiji on some of the biggest sporting stages: the Olympics, World Championships, Pacific Games. How does it feel knowing that young athletes now look up to you as their inspiration?
Man, honored.
Yeah.
Knowing that a child has chosen me to be an idol in their lives, it's a huge responsibility on myself even now. To maintain that image and try and act accordingly and to maintain. How do you say, the way they idolize me?
Right. So like your lifestyle in the public eye.
In the public eye, yes. So that's why I've actually gotten back into training. I don't want the kids to be looking at me and say, "Oh, that's Banuve. Oh, he's got a pot belly. He can't even move around." It'll be, it'll be. I know it'll definitely hurt my ego as well. So So it's just really honored. I was once a child where I idolized a whole bunch of people. Ysefola, William Ryder, William Satala, all these guys. Michael Kiombo.
Oh my gosh, he was a great athlete.
Yeah, Andhy.
He was a great
these
sprinter.
These are all the people that I looked up to.
And Ysefola Tabakaucoro, just speaking of all these iconic athletes in Fiji. When I was growing up, because I used to follow sports, I used to love Ysefola Tabakaucoro, Rachel Rogers, Rosita Mani. Then we had Litiana Wanganitonga, who's now married to Albert Miller, Senior. So those athletes.
Yeah. So even back then, like my first outing with the mini games, I got to be in the same team as Michael Kiombo. Litiana Miller.
Yes.
I had just missed Andhy.
Right.
Because he had retired back in 2007.
Right. And he used to dominate the tracks for 100 meters, right?
In 2007, he won the 100 meters when he was 40 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. So
I think there's hope for me. Maybe if I start training. No, I'm joking.
Don't give up. So, from idolizing these people and then running alongside them, actually doing warm-ups and doing blocks with them, at times I had to keep pinching myself. Hey, this is so-and-so. This, they're on a different, caliber than you are right now.
Yeah.
So, just very fortunate and very blessed to be in that situation as well. And just knowing that, I had made right decisions that led to that situation.
Yeah.
So, and for the kids as well, just really honored.
I mean, because besides you, I don't see or know of any other athlete that has really come out, like sort of like become a brand. Whereas you've, after like what you've done, even though you've retired, you've become this brand that everyone still looks up to, and you're still relevant in society, in athletics in Fiji. Like everyone knows your name.
Yeah.
Like no, I don't think that any household in Fiji wouldn't know who Banuve Tabakaucoro is, the Bau Bullet.
I think the younger generation now wouldn't know.
No, I'm sure with social
Because
media.
I'm actually excited now that I walk through town and I see all the little kids, like probably from class 5 around,
Right.
just walk right past them. No one knows them. Great. So I don't have to hide anymore
Right.
now. Yeah. So I'm enjoying that part as well.
Yes.
Where I can do things and people be looking at me. Is that him? No, it's not.
Yeah.
And like I just look over to them and just give them a smile. I said, okay, yeah, it's him. And then they'll actually walk over and shake
Yeah.
hands and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm at this moment in time right now, I think I'm enjoying the privacy as well.
Yeah.
Where I can actually walk past people right now. They'll give a second look,
Yeah.
not like before. When
Yeah.
they see me right now and they know,
Yeah.
oh, that's Buns.
Yeah.
Now people will give that second look again. Say,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm not too sure if that's him."
Yeah.
And even now when I walk past parents and their kids, and
Yeah.
the parents will be like, hey, is that... Now they're asking the question, is that
Yeah.
him? And I won't even bother to
I just walk straight
yeah,
past.
I've got things to do.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but your 100-meter record still stands at the Coca-Cola Games till this year, right? It hasn't been broken.
Yeah, both
And
of them.
how many years is that now in total? Would you know?
Well, the Inter for the 1 and 2 was set in 2009,
Wow.
and the senior boys was set back in 2011.
Mm.
So both the 1 and 2.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's done so well so far.
Yes, and I think it's
yeah.
gonna stay there for a bit longer.
But at the same time too, I tell a lot of coaches and a lot of athletes, you
Yeah.
know, once you've set a record, if it hasn't been broken within 10 years, then the sport isn't doing well.
Yeah.
And I've been very vocal about it as well.
Good on you, because not just, and that's a good point that you raised. Like with your experience with your records, like if you're looking, like if we're talking internationally, because I follow international athletics as well, and the 100 meters for women, that record has never been broken till to date.
I know, yeah.
And it was
Flojo.
yeah, way back at I think it was the 88 Seoul Olympics,
yeah.
and we've had like athletes like Shericka Jackson, who was poised to break her record, and then you had Shelly-Ann Fraser-Price.
They all came pretty close.
Yeah, but none. So do you ever think that your record will be one day broken?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
You know, we have the talent here to do it. It's the responsibilities on the child and his coach to commit to the training, and you know, just put those hours in.
Yeah.
Just like for anything that you're doing, if you know, if you're gonna go all out and try and set a standard, you know, you have to put those hours in.
Right.
Because right now you can't lie about your fitness. It shows.
Yeah. And you were so committed to your fitness and your training.
I was very committed to
And
it.
that's
Even
where
on days
passion
where
comes in.
Even on days where, you know, there were public holidays, I was training.
Wow.
Even when it was pouring rain outside, I was training.
Wow.
Days where during the holidays, when most of, you know, my friends, my cousins all go to the village, I was training. I couldn't head out.
Gosh, that is that's a huge sacrifice.
You can't just go missing for 1 week and expect to come back and perform at the same rate.
No wonder you were so like you performed so well as an athlete.
Yeah, well, those are the things that I had set for myself.
Yeah.
Like I knew the standards I had set for myself was pretty high.
Pretty high.
And for me, when I attacked all my dreams, all my goals, there was only plan A. There was never a plan B or a plan C. And you know, it was very high risk, but you know, high reward at the same time too. So that's how I played it out all the time. There was only a plan A and nothing else, and it worked out.
I like that.
So,
I like that. That's brilliant. If you could go back and give 18-year-old Banuve some advice, what would you tell him?
Ooh. Try and make more friends.
I'm sure you have hundreds and hundreds of friends.
Yeah, no, like really good friends.
Right.
Yeah, I would have loved to have spent a lot more time with my friends.
Yeah.
Chill out a bit more. Go out and hang out with your friends, meet new people from other schools. Because right now, my group of friends right now is just, I can count them with my fingers. Yeah, that
In
I
a
would
way,
really
it's
talk
good.
to.
In a way, it's
Yeah,
good
true.
to just have a really close knit, in the society that we are currently in right now.
Well, at times I find myself going to different grog. We actually drink grog now, so
I drink grog.
yeah. So I
We
actually,
drink grog.
I get invited to grog sessions.
Yeah.
And it's always the case where I know just one person, and he'll introduce me to everybody.
Right.
I don't have any other affiliation with all those people in that room. I just know that one single person,
Yeah.
and that's it.
Yeah.
So a lot of the friendships I'm making now, I think this past year or so,
Yeah.
I think I've made over like 100 new friends. So
Right.
I'm pretty excited about that too.
Yeah.
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 But I think just the part where we're getting called out every weekend for like a function is...
Yeah. I know.
I went out last weekend. I think I'll chill this weekend.
Just be careful not to become too close with our
Exactly.
Tailevus from Bakondrog and Wow.
Yeah. But I think it also... Because I'm an introvert.
Right.
I can't stand big crowd and stay in big crowds for too long.
Right.
It drains my social battery very quickly. If I go and hang out with a group of people, I'd have to probably take 2 or 3 days off where it's just me and just my kids and just chill and not talk to anybody. There are days where I don't say a single word at all.
Oh my gosh. You know what? It's interesting because you're literally describing me as well. People see me and they think that I'm an extrovert, but then I'm like you.
Yeah.
I don't like being in like big crowds or events. I sometimes have to push myself. Or force myself. And then there are days where I'll just be at home and just talking to my dogs.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think being an introvert as well also helped in my career as well. Because I'd usually get onto the track and just be me and coach, and I can handle that. But when I walk in and there's like a group of people, I have to really prep myself for it.
Yeah.
I said, oh man, I have to talk to them about this. And I'm actually planning the conversation in my head.
Wow.
It's not just like a free flow.
Right.
So it took me a while to, actually come and sit with people and have a free-flowing conversation without having to plan it in my head and say, you need to say this. Oh, no, don't say this. They won't accept that.
Right.
Like, like even when I'm talking to people, my anxiety levels are pretty high too.
Yeah. How's your anxiety levels here?
That's pretty chill right now. Yeah, it's pretty chill right now.
That's because we come from the same province. That's because we come from the same province. So what's next for Banuve Tabakaucoro? Coaching, mentoring, or something totally unexpected?
Well, right now I'm actually into coaching.
Yes.
I've been coaching for the past 1.5 years now. Hoping to start up my club soon.
Yeah,
and,
you shared that some details with me, which sounds so exciting. And I look forward to you giving me the exclusive when everything is ready to be done.
Exactly. So trying to find the next big thing for Fiji athletics, and the club's gonna be open. Hopefully, we find the next big sporting icon as well, not just in athletics, but netball, rugby, and as long as they're in my club, I'll be happy about that. So. Also into mentoring as well.
Yep.
A lot of the kids that are gearing up for the Chow Games, kids that are gearing up for the Coca-Cola Games, kids that are going to be chosen into their youth teams for Fiji. Having a chat with them as well, letting them know what to expect in this kind of lifestyle. It's not very easy. So these are the things that I'm getting them ready for.
Right.
And just trying to pass as much of my knowledge to these kids. But a lot of these kids too, the reason why I kept in shape too is because I needed to demo a lot of these running drills for the kids. They're very visual learners, children. You can explain to them so many things, but then you said, okay, watch me. You didn't. Like, oh, that's what you meant. It's like, that's what I've been trying to tell you for the past half an hour.
Right.
But they just need to see it for like a minute and they get it right away.
Right.
So, but I never actually expected myself to be, working with kids a lot. Right. Because I was very, I'll just say it out right now. I was very self-centered. Everything was about me every time. When I committed to training, it was just me. Yeah.
But I mean, that's when you say that, like, in your defense, you were an athlete, I reckon I need to have that mindset. Yeah, absolutely, because your sole goal is to set records and to win a gold medal. Like, it's not like a big group sport where you are like, say for like the Fiji Sevens team, as an example, you're an individual on that track and you are representing Fiji, and the expectations of the whole country is on you. So I guess you're allowed to have that.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
that's true.
And I don't think that's self-centered. That's just sort of like protecting
Yeah.
you're
Defending the crown.
absolutely defending the crown.
Yeah. So I never really saw myself doing this. I knew I was gonna go into do something where I didn't needed to depend on other people. So probably being an entrepreneur and just starting my own business.
Yeah.
What it was, I didn't even know right now.
Yeah.
So I don't put out my business a lot for people. The less people that know, the less bad energy that you're gonna attract to your business.
Right.
So that's how I like to keep it.
Yeah.
But eventually I'll have to start, engaging, marketing.
Yeah.
That's where I need to really come out of my shell and sort of leave that lifestyle behind, and start opening up these doors for people want to
sort
help
of like
to
rebranding the new Banuve Tabakaucoro,
Exactly.
because now the brand that people know who you are is the fastest man in the Pacific. Now that you've taken on a more entrepreneurship side of you, you'll have to rebrand.
So be the businessman now.
Yes.
So jumping out from the tracksuit and then into a business suit now.
Right.
Yeah. So that'll be a huge challenge.
Yeah, but I think you'll do well. I mean, if you handled your career so well as an athlete, this should be
So
very easy for you.
I spoke with my coach and my dad about this as well. They said, as long as you approach it the same way you did with your career, I think you're gonna do pretty well.
Absolutely.
So as long as we're committed, you're putting in the hours, you're putting in the work, it's gonna work out. And I know there are gonna be obstacles, but you just gotta deal with it.
What's that saying in our province? Waray na sangana tambalenga.
Tambalenga.
So we'll have to keep that.
Kaingo nang kainga.
Yeah, you have to keep that at the back of your head, because that saying in our province is there for a reason.
Exactly.
All right, we'll take another short break. So we'll allow you to go and get another snack or refreshing drink, and then we'll see you straight after this short commercial break. Okay, Banuve, so now we're going to have some fun and quick fire questions.
Let's go.
If you weren't a sprinter, what sport do you think you'd be competing in?
Rugby.
I knew you were going to say rugby.
Definitely rugby.
Because didn't you...
So when I was in primary school, I did make the Suvu team from under 12, 13 and 14. And then when I got into Marist, I started getting chosen for a lot of youth games for athletics. So I couldn't find time after that. And that's when I stopped playing.
Didn't you, at a time in your career, you also played rugby and represented Fiji?
Yes.
Yes, you did.
That was back in 2017 to 2018.
Right.
So jumped out for a bit. I finished in 2016. I took a break for 2 years, went to play rugby, made the sevens team, and then jumped back into athletics.
And still came back into athletics and still won another gold medal.
So even before Samoa, the year out, 2018, I was still playing rugby and actually tore my meniscus in my knee.
Ooh.
So almost for like a year building up to Samoa, I had to teach myself to jog properly again and reteach myself everything.
Wow.
And knowing that I was going to try and run again at the Pacific Games. But, for that Pacific Games, I had no expectations. I just wanted to run again.
Right.
And everything worked out well. So I came back and defended the crown again.
3 times.
Yeah.
3 times. Who's one athlete, Fijian or international, you always admired and look up to?
Can I say one local and
Sure,
one international?
absolutely.
Okay, so one local would be, I would say, there's so many. I'll try and choose the best one. I think for local, it would be Make Bulkiombo.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a brilliant. She was a brilliant athlete. During her peak
just
times.
the way she dominated as well.
I remember her when we were in school. She used to be a 400 meter runner. I always knew her as 400 and 200.
Yeah.
And then after that, she switched to being the sprint queen, 100 meters to 100, right?
Yeah. So just the way she dominated was something I wanted to do as well. So I knew there were a lot of good male sprinters as well, but she was one figure I really looked up to and like respected as well.
You know, there's an interesting story. Well, not interesting story. I'm not sure if a lot of maybe people that went to the same like school around the same time that I was in. And at the time it was called the Fiji Finals. And so Makelesi was running for Natambua High School and her competitor was Litiana at the time, Wanganitong, and she was competing for Dudley in the 200 meters. And that race literally stopped the nation because we had these two sprint queens up against each other. And I think it was just Litiana who just pipped, is that how you say pipped or piped at the tape? And oh my gosh, it was like we were like up and screaming because we've never seen a race like that before.
And then again, Lautoka and Suva, two different cities.
And the heights of both sprint queens. You know, you have this lanky Makelesi and this short Litiana, and they are just blitzing the tracks in Lodalo Bay. That was one of the most iconic races in Fiji, in the Fiji finals that I've always remembered. So Makelesi is one local athlete that you look up to. Who would be your international?
International would be Ray Lewis. He used to play football for the Baltimore Ravens.
Right.
And just the way he used to get his team, hyped up before a game. I think he's won 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
So he's somebody I used to like listen to a lot. I think a couple of podcasts he went on, I used to listen to a lot of those as well. But just the way he used to approach every game with just that warrior mindset, that deal with it mindset.
Right.
And that was somebody I really looked up to as well.
Interesting. I was expecting you to say someone like Usain Bolt or Johan Blake, who I claim to be my family because we have the same surname. Or like sprinters from the past like Carl Lewis or it's interesting that you Ray Lewis.
Ray Lewis.
Okay, I'll need to Google him. I'm not familiar with him.
The way he dominated in a game. Like he was a linebacker, so he just smashed people left, right, and center.
Yeah.
And just the way he controlled the field and he made that field his own. Even if he came into your hometown, you'd feel like a guest in that field. I mean, that's the impact that he had.
Maybe we need to bring him in to come and coach our Tailevu rugby club because our team hasn't been performing very well. So my next question to you is, you're on a deserted island, but you get to bring 3 things. What are you taking?
I'll take my wife with me.
Smart.
I'll take a fishing rod.
Yes.
And probably 2, I cannot say one more. 1 massive tank of water. That's it.
What if you run out of water? Then I would have taken like something to convert the salt water into fresh water. But it's good. Don't worry, it'll rain. It probably will rain. You might choose an island in Taveuni. They have like 600 waterfalls in Taveuni, so you can put a tank under one of those waterfalls. You know what? Before I ask you my final question, I've been wanting to ask you, like, what was your experience like for you when you because you were Sportsman of the Year in, I think it was 2013?
I think so. I can't even remember.
I remember, and I've always wanted to ask, like, winning that, after getting recognized as the fastest man in the South Pacific, in Fiji, you had that name, Bau Bullet, and you've been representing Fiji at the Olympics, you went to the World Championships, you did all these international meets, regional competitions, and then coming back home and then winning the most prestigious award in the country for sports, where you are recognized as Sportsman of the Year. Like, how did that feel? Like, what was the whole experience for you and getting recognized with that award?
Because I'm pretty sure I was up against pretty strong competition that year from the other sports. So at the same time, like any ordinary Fijian, I just want to go to the function because I want to eat. That was my whole
Yeah.
mindset. Whatever happens tonight, whoever wins, eh?
Yes.
And knowing that I was going to be up against some really good athletes from the other sports as well
Yeah.
that were also doing well
Yeah.
that year.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to be disappointed about anything. Yeah?
Yeah.
I'm just happy that, I was recognized for my efforts.
Yeah.
Just being nominated is a win already.
Yeah.
That your sport recognizes what
Yeah.
you've done. And they've chosen you as the best person to put forward.
Right.
That in itself is already...
It's an accomplishment in
it's an
itself.
accomplishment in itself. And then just being able to stand on that stage alongside all these other, great athletes, people that are already well established in their different sporting fields. And then taking out the whole thing, now being recognized by the entire country, them telling you, you're our best guy.
Yeah.
That's it's a huge compliment. And, very honored as well that,
Because your name will always be etched in history
it'll be
from
there.
now on. It's
Yeah.
always going to be there
Yeah.
that you were the sportsman of the year of that
So-
particular.
whoever comes back then, whenever you take the trophy now, your name's gonna be on there.
Yeah.
So he's probably gonna go. The generation now, like I said, is
Yeah.
social media generation. They're gonna go and say, "Oh, who's this guy?" Type it in.
Yeah.
The name's gonna pop up.
Yeah.
And, they're gonna type my name in. Everything's
Yeah.
gonna pop up.
Yeah.
Some of them might go into the extent of, I wanna see him. I wanna visit him. And I don't know. I might be on an island somewhere, probably back in just relaxing.
Yeah.
And honored.
Yeah.
I think it's just a word I can say right now.
Yeah.
But just being recognized by the entire country and them just saying, you're our best guy right now. So I think you deserve this. So yeah,
Wow. And congratulations for that, by the way.
thanks.
Because I don't think we knew each other
13
back
years
then. Yeah.
13 years later.
Yeah. Lastly, we have to ask, can anyone in Fiji today beat your record, or are they staying under your name for a very long time?
I'd like for it to stay for a while, but at the same time, I'm gonna put on my coaching hat right now and say, I want it to be broken soon. Just so, the next person can come in and carry that torch and take us forward.
Are you seeing any potentials so far?
Yes, we saw one last year. Semesa Dangini Vanua.
What?
From Suvagrama?
Silver Grammar School. Of course, Silver Grammar School. We're breeding the new sprinters now.
So he came pretty close to the senior boys.
Right. Okay. Interesting. So this year he'll be someone to look out for, or has he
I'm not
moved
too
on?
sure. I think we'll have to have a word with John Dela and see
Right.
what the issue with him is right now.
Right.
And, last year we had, I think, 4 or 5 boys that went under 10-8.
That's pretty fast.
That's pretty quick. The last time somebody did that was our crew back in 2011.
Wow.
Yeah. So we've got the talent to do it. There are kids that have the talent and they don't know at all that they do have it. So it's all about, Athletics Fiji stepping out and, going to identify these talents and nurturing them. Athletics in general is a struggling sport, not just in Fiji. It's struggling everywhere in the world. It's very exclusive to, World Athletics. It's very exclusive to all the bigger countries. So I feel like the smaller nations are just like we're being thrown to the lions right now. We're just there to make numbers. And these guys just come in and take
Absolutely.
us out. So, it's not a level playing field right now.
No, I agree with you.
Everything that we have here in Fiji, and you compare it to the stuff they have in Australia and in the States, we're on completely, I won't say we're on the same page. We're not even the book on the shelf right now.
No, exactly.
Yeah. So it's a different world.
Yeah.
Once you get out of Fiji and you go and compete abroad, you'll see how much harder it is to try and prep here and compete abroad.
Yeah. It's interesting that you mentioned the way that the different countries or the different zones, like the the regions, sort of like handled by World Athletics. Because I watched the series on Netflix, Sprint, and it followed the behind the scenes of Noah Lyles and Sharika Jackson and Sherlyn Fraser Price and I forget her name. She's the reigning 100-meter sprinter right now from the Caribbean. I forgot the island that she.
Oh, Saint Lucia.
Saint Lucia.
Yeah, I forgot her name.
I forgot her name. Yeah. So, and it showed like how the
Julian Alfred.
Right.
Yeah.
How the Americans, like when they went to the World Championships and then they went to the Grand Prix and then they went to the Olympics, like how the Americans were treated. Like they were staying in these 5-star hotels. They had their security. They were not even staying in the village. They were all staying outside. And then you had the girl from St. Lucia and then you're coming into the marshalling area. And then all these massive tents with all these, the American team, they had their own. It was like decked out with everything. And then this poor St. Lucia team, just one small tent. And I was like, oh my gosh. But she still went on to become the 100-meter sprint queen.
See, but the thing is, you see where she comes from, everything that was offered to her back in her country. And, she went to college in the States. Just her coming into the Olympics and competing at that stage, just being there, everything is working in her advantage now. Because everything is much bigger now. Everything. So that little tent might be the biggest thing in the world to her.
Yeah,
she said,
true.
it doesn't matter what they have. I like this. I'm comfortable here.
Yes.
So it's about what you have.
Yeah.
And if you appreciate it enough, it'll work out for you.
Yeah. That's so true.
I see a lot of these kids that make it into the Fiji Sevens team. They come from really hard backgrounds.
Yeah, of course.
And all of a sudden they're sleeping on a really nice bed.
Yes.
Their food is being brought to their table. And they don't have to worry about going out to look for...
Staying in hotels, visiting these beautiful countries where they have all these sevens.
Beautiful countries, And, they're contracted players. They're getting paid to play rugby.
Yeah, something that they love doing, right?
Yeah, that they love doing. It's not even a job anymore.
Yeah.
So once you feel that whatever you do, it doesn't become a job anymore and it's what you love to do, I don't think you'll work a day in your life. So I think that's how I performed over these past 15, 16 years that I was competing. It never felt like work.
Yeah.
It was just something that I
because
loved to do.
it was your passion.
And exactly.
They always say when it's your passion, it'll never feel like work.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I could speak to you the whole day. I feel like you have so many more stories. I might have to bring you back on my second season of Let Me Pod You with Andy Blake.
Yeah. Or I'll be a legendary coach someday.
That's when I'm gonna have to have you, and you'll have to give me all the exclusive.
Exactly.
Just before we go, like for those that are watching from Fiji and around the Pacific or from around the world on the YouTube channel. And they have children or they might be teenagers that are watching that are currently involved in the sport of athletics or any sport in particular. Like what advice can you give them to encourage them to continue with their, pursuing their dreams, their goals and their career? Like what advice would you give them that will help them? Because, like now in terms of like, we spoke about the digital landscape that we currently live in, people post up comments and they feel bullied online and, sometimes it affects them, and then they tend to like lose hope in themselves and it affects their career and their preparations. Like what advice would you give to some potential athletes?
I think for all the athletes, not just in athletics, for all sports, I think you need to remember why you started this journey in the first place. Remember why it started. It was fun. So keep it that way. Once you start to lose sight of that first thing, of it being fun, everything just starts falling apart. Your heart needs to be in the right place as well. You need to do it because you love it and not because your family members are telling you to do it just because you're good at it. If you love doing it, go for it. And just put your heart and soul into it. You can never go wrong there. Eat well, sleep well, pray hard.
Beautiful advice. Thank you so much, Tai. Thank you.
Nakabalik.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is the fastest man in the Pacific, the reigning fastest man in the Pacific, and the fastest man in Fiji reigning. And he's from the Golden Province. I always like to promote my province, Tailevu, but it's my podcast, so I have all the right to do so. And thank you so much for being on Let Me Pod with Andy Blake, Tai, Banuve Tabakaucoro. So we hope you enjoyed this episode. If you like this episode, give us a big thumbs up. If you have any questions from Banuve, drop them in the comment section, and we look forward to seeing you again in our next episode in next week on Let Me Pod You with Andy Blake. Have a great day. Banuve Tabakaucoro.